Have you ever found yourself apologizing for something that deep down wasn't your fault? Or perhaps you felt overwhelmed by a guilt that seems to come out of nowhere, as if you're carrying the weight of mistakes you didn't. Maybe you've asked yourself, why do I always feel like I'm doing something wrong? If these questions resonate with you as you watch this video, I want you to pause for a moment and take a deep breath. You are not alone, and more importantly, you are not going crazy. This feeling of constantly apologizing, of feeling inadequate, or of believing that the problem always falls on you has a reason. It has a name, an explanation, and, most comforting of all, a solution. This persistent guilt, this mental confusion that makes you doubt yourself. This impression that no matter what you do, it's never enough. All of this can be the result of living with a narcissistic person. Yes, the behavior of someone close. 2, you may be shaping how you feel, think, and even act in your daily life. I'm a psychologist, and my goal today is to guide you through a journey of understanding and clarity. I'm going to share with you the valuable teachings of Dr. Ramani Durvasula, one of the world's leading experts on narcissism. With decades of clinical and research experience, she has dedicated her career to understanding how narcissism impacts the lives of people like you, people who often feel trapped in relationships that make them question their own sanity. Dr. Ramani's insights are powerful and transformative, and they can help you see more clearly what's happening in your life. Whether it's in a romantic relationship, family dynamic, professional setting, or even a friendship. Over the next few minutes, we'll dive together into the world of narcissistic behavior. We'll explore how it may be causing you to carry guilt that isn't yours, to doubt your own choices, and to feel, somehow, that you're never good enough. We'll identify the subtle and sometimes not so subtle signs that you might be dealing with a narcissistic person. We'll understand the emotional impacts that this type of relationship can cause, such as exhaustion, low self-esteem, and even the feeling of being lost in your own life. And most importantly, we'll show you that there is indeed a path to escape this draining dynamic and reclaim your confidence, your peace, and control over your own narrative. If you're feeling confused, exhausted, or believing that the problem is always you, I ask you, stay with me until the end. Because what you'll discover here can completely transform the way you view your relationships and, more than that, the way you view yourself. Let's uncover the signs together, understand the emotions involved, and open the door to a life where you can feel lighter, more secure, and, above all, more in charge of your own story. Before we dive deeper, it's essential to understand exactly what narcissistic behavior is. When we talk about narcissism, it's important to clarify that we're not just referring to someone who's vain, who loves looking in the mirror, or who constantly posts selfies on social media. While vanity may be part of it, narcissism goes far beyond that. We're talking about a specific pattern of behavior, often deeply destructive, that impacts not only the narcissistic person, but everyone around them, especially those who are emotionally closest. A person with narcissistic traits displays well-defined characteristics. They have an insatiable need for admiration and validation, as if they constantly require applause to feel good about themselves. Additionally, there's a noticeable lack of genuine empathy for the feelings and needs of others. This means that even if they seem charismatic or charming at first glance, these individuals often struggle to connect authentically with others' emotions. And perhaps most strikingly, they have a tendency to manipulate situations and people to ensure they're always in the spotlight, always in a position of superiority. In everyday life, this behavior can manifest in ways that at first may seem subtle, but over time become exhausting and devastating. A common example is emotional manipulation. The narcissistic person can distort reality so skillfully that you start to believe you are, in fact, responsible for the problems in the relationship. They may make comments that lead you to doubt your actions, your intentions, or even your own perception of what happened. This is especially common in a tactic known as gaslighting, where the person denies obvious facts such as something they said or did, causing you to question your memory and ultimately your own sanity. Phrases like "you're imagining things" or "that never happened" are classic examples that can leave you confused and insecure. Another frequently used strategy is triangulation. In this case, the narcissistic person brings third parties into the relationship dynamic, perhaps mentioning a coworker who is so much better at something or comparing you to someone else in a way that makes you feel insecure, jealous, or inferior. This psychological game is designed to keep you in a constant state of competition or doubt, always seeking their approval. And of course, there's the constant guilt. No matter what happens, somehow, you always end up being held responsible. Something goes wrong, it's because you didn't do enough or reacted the wrong way. This projection of guilt is a powerful tool to keep you trapped in a cycle of self-criticism and insecurity. Dr. Ramani Durvasula, one of the foremost experts on narcissism, explains that narcissistic individuals are true masters at projecting their own flaws and inadequacies onto others. They have immense difficulty dealing with their vulnerabilities or taking responsibility for their mistakes. To avoid facing these weaknesses, they transfer all the emotional burden to those around them, especially those who are closest or emotionally dependent. This creates an environment where you, living with this person, may feel constantly inadequate, as if nothing you do is ever enough to please them or resolve conflicts. If you're experiencing something like this, I want you to pause for a moment and absorb a fundamental truth. The guilt is not yours. You're not being too sensitive, you're not overreacting, and you're definitely not imagining things. What you're experiencing is real, and it's the result of a pattern of behavior that has a name, characteristics, and clear explanations. The narcissist creates, intentionally or not, a psychological environment where you end up questioning every aspect of yourself, your choices, your feelings, your very identity. You may feel like you're always walking on eggshells, trying to avoid conflicts or criticism, or as if you need to justify and apologize constantly, even when you've done nothing wrong. This is not a coincidence. It's a strategy, conscious or unconscious, that the narcissistic person uses to maintain control over you and the relationship dynamic. Understanding this is the first step to recognizing what's happening and beginning to break free from this cycle. Narcissistic behavior is not about you or your flaws. It's about the other person's need to feel in control, superior, and untouchable. By understanding these dynamics, you start to see that the problem isn't you, but rather a pattern of behavior that can be identified and addressed. Asterisk, now let's identify the specific signs that may indicate you're dealing with narcissistic behavior. Pay attention to whether you recognize some of these situations. First sign, you always overreact. This is a classic phrase. When you try to express how you feel, or when something bothers you, the response is always that you're overreacting, being dramatic, or being too sensitive. For example, if you say, "I felt hurt when you canceled our plans at the last minute," the response might be, "Wow, you always make a big deal out of nothing." This completely invalidates your feelings and makes you question whether you even have the right to feel that way. Second sign, reality is constantly distorted. You have an argument, and the next day the person acts as if nothing happened, or worse, as if the argument was completely different from what you remember. They might say things like, "I never said that, you're making it up," or "that's not what happened." This makes you constantly question your own memory. Asterisk. Third sign, you always need to prove your love or dedication. Nothing you do is ever enough. You may try your hardest to please this person, but there's always something wrong. Always a criticism, always a way you've failed. And when you question it, you hear things like, "If you really loved me, you wouldn't do this." Creating a dynamic where you're always trying to prove your worth. Fourth sign, your achievements are minimized. Your mistakes are magnified when you accomplish something important. The response is lukewarm, disinterested. Or the person finds a way to downplay your achievement. But when you make a mistake, no matter how small, it becomes the subject of a major argument, and you hear about it repeatedly. This creates a pattern where you associate your achievements with indifference and your mistakes with emotional punishment. Fifth sign, after everything I've done for you, this phrase comes up whenever you try to set boundaries or express your needs. Every kindness, every favor, every gesture from the person is used as leverage to control your behavior. Feel like you're always owing something, always in emotional debt. Sixth sign, you feel like you're walking on eggshells. You constantly monitor your behavior. Your words, even your facial expressions, because you never know what might trigger a negative reaction. You feel like you need to be perfect all the time to avoid conflicts. Seventh sign, they have different rules for themselves. What's unacceptable when you do it becomes justifiable when they do it. If you're late, it's disrespectful. If they're late, they had a tough day. If you forget something, you're irresponsible. If they forget, it's because they have a lot on their mind. Behind these behaviors is a deep need for control and an inability to handle emotional responsibility. Dr. Ramani explains that narcissists operate from a place of profound vulnerability, but instead of dealing with it in a healthy way, they transfer all emotional responsibility to those around them. If you're starting to recognize the patterns of narcissistic behavior in your life, it's crucial to understand the profound emotional impacts they can cause. These effects are not a reflection of weakness or personal failure, quite the contrary. What you're feeling is a natural human response to a situation that is, at its core, deeply abnormal and draining. Let's explore these impacts carefully so you can understand what's happening to you and validate your experiences. The first impact, and perhaps one of the most overwhelming, is chronic guilt. You start to carry a constant sense that you've done something wrong, even when there's no evidence of it. This guilt can arise from things you didn't do, reactions you didn't have, or even thoughts that never crossed your mind. It's as if suddenly you become responsible for everything that goes wrong in the relationship. You might wake up already feeling guilty, spend the day trying to justify yourself, and go to bed apologizing for something you don't even fully understand. This guilt becomes like a constant background soundtrack, playing in your life, undermining your peace and confidence. The second impact is profound mental confusion. It's often debilitating. You start to doubt your own perception of reality. Phrases like, "Did I really say that? Am I remembering this wrong?" Or, "Am I really as problematic as this person says?" begin to occupy your mind constantly. This relentless questioning is the result of a manipulative tactic known as gaslighting, which Dr. Ramani Durvasula describes as a powerful tool used by narcissists. They distort reality so convincingly that you begin to question your memory, your intentions, and even your sanity. This fog of confusion makes you feel like you're truly going crazy, as if you can no longer trust yourself to distinguish what's real from what's manipulation. The third impact is constant anxiety, which can become a daily companion. Living with a narcissistic person often means being in a state of perpetual alertness, as if you're always waiting for the next criticism, the next conflict, or the next emotional outburst. You might feel a knot in your stomach when you see a message from this person on your phone. Or your heart might race when you hear the key turning in the door, signaling their arrival. This state of hypervigilance keeps your nervous system constantly activated, as if your body is in fight or flight mode all the time. This ongoing tension is exhausting and can make you feel trapped in a cycle of fear and anticipation. The fourth impact is the gradual destruction of your self-esteem. The constant criticism, accusations, and manipulation make you start to internalize a negative view of yourself. You may begin to believe that you really are problematic, too sensitive, or difficult to deal with, as the narcissistic person insists. Over time, you lose connection with your own qualities, talents, and achievements. The confident, Spontaneous, vibrant person you may have been before this relationship starts to feel like a distant memory, as if it belongs to another life. You might even feel like you no longer recognize yourself, as if you're getting lost amidst so much criticism and unattainable expectations. In addition to these emotional impacts, it's common to experience physical symptoms as well. Dr. Ramani explains that living in an emotionally toxic environment can take a heavy toll on your body. Frequent headaches, digestive issues, insomnia, chronic fatigue, and even muscle pain can emerge as a result of constant stress. Your body is reacting to the prolonged state of alertness, trying to cope with the tension imposed by narcissistic behavior. These physical symptoms are a reminder that psychological manipulation affects not only your mind, but your overall health. Many people going through this describe a devastating feeling of losing themselves. You might look back and realize that the joyful, confident, spontaneous person you used to be seems to have vanished. Your ability to trust yourself, make decisions confidently, or simply enjoy life may feel compromised. This sense of disconnection from who you are can be profoundly painful, but it's important to understand that it's not a sign of weakness. On the contrary, it's evidence that you're facing an emotionally toxic environment where constant manipulation shapes how you see and feel about yourself. Dr. Ramani emphasizes a crucial point. Victims of narcissists are often incredibly empathetic, conscientious, and willing to give of themselves to others. These qualities, which are strengths in other contexts, can be exploited by narcissistic individuals who take advantage of your kindness and sensitivity. The symptoms you're experiencing, the guilt, the confusion, the anxiety, the low self-esteem didn't arise because you're weak or incapable. They arose because you're a normal person with human emotions reacting to a situation that is anything but normal. Anyone exposed to this kind of constant systematic manipulation would develop similar symptoms. Understanding these emotional impacts is a powerful step toward regaining your clarity and strength. By recognizing that what you're feeling is a direct response to narcissistic behavior, you begin to lift the weight of guilt off your shoulders. You are not the problem. You're dealing with a dynamic designed to destabilize you. And by understanding this, you take the first step toward reclaiming control of your own narrative and emotional health. Now that you understand what's happening, let's talk about what you can do. First, I want you to take a deep breath and remember, you are not alone in this, and you can get out of this situation. First step, recognize that the problem isn't you. This may sound simple, but it's revolutionary. Stop looking for what you did wrong. Stop trying to adjust to make the relationship work. The problem isn't that you're not good enough. The problem is that you're dealing with someone who has a destructive pattern of behavior. Second step, start documenting and keep a diary of interactions. Write down what happened, what was said, and how you felt. This will help you gain clarity about the patterns and trust your own perception of reality. When you start seeing the patterns on paper, it becomes harder for the person to convince you that you're imagining things. Third step, set emotional boundaries. You don't need to constantly justify yourself. You don't need to explain every feeling, every reaction, every decision. Learn to say no without giving long explanations. Learn to say, I'm not going to discuss this right now when the person tries to drag you into a circular argument. Fourth step, reconnect with your support network. Narcissists often isolate their victims. They make you pull away from friends and family. Whether through criticism, your friends don't like me, or drama every time you go out with them, you come back different. Reconnect with people who know and value you. Help you remember who you really are. Fifth step, consider therapy. A qualified professional can help you process what you've been through and rebuild your self-esteem. Look for someone with experience in toxic relationships and narcissism. Dr. Ramani always emphasizes that therapy is crucial for recovering from this type of situation. Sixth step, educate yourself. Knowledge is power. Read about narcissism. Watch educational videos, understand the patterns, The more you understand about narcissistic behavior, the less power it has over you. Dr. Ramani has numerous books and resources that can help you in this process. 7th step. Prepare for resistance. When you start setting boundaries, the person may intensify their manipulative behaviors. This is normal and expected. Narcissists don't like losing control. So they may try to convince you that you're being cruel or selfish for protecting yourself. Stay firm. It's important to understand that leaving a relationship with a narcissistic person is a process, not an event. You won't recover overnight. Be patient with yourself. Some days will be harder than others. Some days you'll question whether you're doing the right thing. That's normal. Dr. Ramani often says that recovering from a narcissistic relationship is like recovering from any other type of trauma. It takes time, takes support, and it takes a lot of self-compassion. Remember, you deserve to be treated with respect. You deserve to have your feelings validated. You deserve to be in relationships where you don't have to walk on eggshells. You deserve peace of mind. If this video resonated with you, if you saw yourself reflected in the situations we described, I want you to pause for a moment and recognize how significant it is that you're here. Seeking to understand what's happening in your life, taking that first step, recognizing that something isn't right and wanting to learn more is already a huge demonstration of strength and courage. You are not alone in this journey, and I want you to know from the bottom of my heart that there is hope for you. There is a path to escape this emotional confusion and find the peace you deserve. If you found this content valuable, I invite you to subscribe to the channel to keep receiving videos that will help you build healthier relationships, strengthen your self-esteem, and care for your emotional well-being. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos, because we'll continue diving deep into these topics that are so critical for your mental and emotional health. Each video is an opportunity to learn something new, to connect with tools that can transform your perspective, and to take another step toward a lighter, more balanced life. I want to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me, have you ever experienced something like what we talked about today? Maybe it was a moment when you felt guilty for no reason, or a situation where you questioned your own sanity. Which sign or behavior stood out to you the most while watching? Your story, even if shared simply, can be incredibly powerful. Sharing your experience without needing to use names or personal details can help others facing similar situations feel less alone. This space is safe, welcoming, and designed for you to feel heard and validated. Your voice matters, and your story could be the light someone needs to start seeing their own situation more clearly. Also, if you know someone who might be going through something like this, perhaps a friend, family member, or colleague who seems trapped in a confusing or emotionally draining relationship, share this video with them. Sometimes those immersed in a narcissistic dynamic can't see what's happening clearly. The weight of manipulation can cloud their vision, and a simple gesture like sharing this content can be the bridge that leads them to find information that makes a difference. You could be the support they need to take the first step toward understanding and change. I want to reinforce an essential message. Seeking help is not in any way a sign of weakness. On the contrary, it's an immense act of courage. Recognizing that you deserve better relationships, that you deserve respect and care, is not selfishness, it's self-preservation, it's self-love. And believing that it's possible to get out of this situation, to find peace and balance, is not naivety. It's hope. And hope is the fuel that drives the greatest transformations. You have the right to dream of a life where you feel valued, where your voice is heard, and where your feelings are respected. If, for any reason, you're in a risky situation or feel you need immediate support, don't hesitate to seek professional help. There are helplines available, qualified psychologists and therapists, and people who genuinely care about your well-being. You don't have to face this alone. And seeking support is a powerful step toward your safety and emotional health. You deserve to live with peace in your heart. You deserve relationships that lift you up, that make you feel loved in a genuine and respectful way. You deserve to be surrounded by people who value who you are without demanding that you diminish yourself to please them. And above all, I truly believe that you are capable of achieving this. Believe in yourself, take one step at a time, and know that you're on the right path until the next video. Take good care of yourself. You are stronger than you realize, and I'm rooting for you.